Hey there, I'm Pascal, and today I want to share with you the story of how I met my boyfriend of now 8 years. Yes, my boyfriend Bryan. It all started back when I was in Cégep. For any of you who are not familiar with this type of school establishment, it's basically between high school and university. It serves as preparation. It was my second year in Cégep, and I had changed the focus of my studies from health sciences to social sciences. I'll explain this more whenever I do my drama life, if I ever do one. I had lots of different classes, most notably abnormal psychology, which was the class that I shared with Bryan. You see, I was always the type of guy who would sit at the back corner of the class, not because I had anything to hide, but because I enjoyed being able to watch everyone in the room. I know it's really creepy, but that's the way I used to be. Bryan would usually sit right at the front of the class with his group of friends. You see, Bryan's always been more social and outgoing than me, and I would mostly keep to myself and act pretty mean. Now, I wasn't out at the time, mostly because I had difficulties accepting myself and who I was, and which I guess would explain a lot of the anger issues I had at the time. Bryan, on the other hand, had been out with his family and friends for quite a while already and wasn't afraid to show it. Of course, I noticed him immediately, mostly because I thought it was loud and annoying. He told me afterwards that by that time he already knew who I was because he had stalked me on the internet, on Facebook, those kinds of social websites. Anyways, I would stare at him with my demonic eyes every time he would be too loud, arrive late, etc. One thing I thought was weird was that he would hold my stare and look back at me with a kind of, so what kind of look. How do I even draw that? Like, my drawings are really weird, I'm so sorry. Anyhow, the semester went on, and at one point we had to choose group partners for the big semester project assignment on serial killers. I hated group projects, as I always ended up being the one doing everything for everyone. Anyways, I had no one, as usual, and when the class ended, I just got up, and as I exited the class and passed by Bryan, who was still loudly speaking with his friends, by the way. Oh my god, I can't draw this. I don't know how I'm gonna draw this, but okay. I'm supposed to draw like a hand that's snapping fingers, because that's what he did to me at that time to catch my attention, which I thought was really annoying, and I was so pissed at him for doing that. I don't know, it was just weird, and I'm sorry because the drawing doesn't look at all like a hand that's snapping fingers. Sorry. I completely ignored him, and with an angry look on my face, I exited the class. I wasn't stupid. I knew for some time that Bryan was interested in me, the way he constantly looked at me, and now I know I wasn't bad looking too, I guess, but to me all that was just yet another obnoxious fanboy in my way, because that's how I used to think about people like that. Anyways, that night, I talked with my best friend about the incident. My best friend's a straight guy who wasn't even in the same school at the time, but I used to tell him everything, and I told him about Bryan and how annoying I thought he was. And my friend simply thought that I had been a bit too harsh and that I should at least hear what Bryan had to say to me. Well, about a week after that, we had an in-class exam. I've always performed pretty well in exams, and I usually finish them quite early. However, I'm the kind of guy who will review everything and use almost all the time available to keep perfecting answers. So by the time I handed back the exam, almost all of the students of the class had already left, Bryan included. I remember he had gotten up quite early actually. Anyhow, as I exited the classroom and walked in the hallway, guess who was waiting for me all this time with his group of friends? Bryan! Yay! Bryan with his group of friends said, "Hi!" It was super awkward. He started the exchange by asking me on a monotone voice, "Do you have a group for the group project?" And I just replied, "No." "Wanna be in our group?" "Okay." And then I walked past them and left with an angry look on my face. The next week during class, he walked up to where I was sitting alone in the back. Everyone looked at him because they were like, "What are you doing at the back of the class? You're always at the front." And he simply asked me to come join him and his friends at the front of the class because they had actually kept a place for me. So I reluctantly got up and sat beside him, and that's where I would sit for the rest of the semester. As weeks passed by, we slowly started to get to know each other, and eventually Bryan gathered up the courage to invite me via text to hang out with him and two of his other friends in downtown Montreal after school on a Friday evening. Following the advice of my friend, who told me to try and open up to people and give them a chance, I answered, sure, why not? And actually, this surprised me a lot, but all of that evening we had so much fun, and I thought Bryan was so much different than what I thought he would be. And I didn't have like that much fun since a long time, because like I said, I always used to keep things to myself and not be very outgoing and speak to anyone. And by the end of the night, Bryan made a move and asked me out, and I said okay. And then after a week of going out as a couple, I called him and broke up with him on the phone. So yeah, that's kind of weird. What I'm not saying here is that Bryan wanted to take things really fast, and he would like give me affection in front of everyone at the school. During lunchtime, he would kiss me, and I was, like I said, I wasn't really out at the time, and I wasn't very comfortable with who I was and what, like myself. And I felt so uncomfortable that I thought I should break up. And that's what I did on the phone, and he simply said, "Okay, then I wish you a happy life." And right after that, he hung up, and I just started crying. And I was very surprised, because I didn't think I really loved him, but like I started crying and I didn't understand why. So I immediately tried to call him back several times, but he wouldn't answer. And eventually I called his home phone instead, and it was his dad who answered, and it was so awkward. Then I was able to talk to Bryan, and I asked him if we could still see each other at school and be like we used to, like friends. I really didn't want to lose Bryan. He was such a good person to be around, and I had like an incredibly good time with him, and he had such a great influence on me, because at the time I was like in a dark period of my life. So we kind of made up and stayed really good friends for the rest of our cégep years, which was like just another year. Then came university, and we both settled on different schools. I wanted to go back in French, because the cégep I went to where I met Bryan was an English one. So to go in French, I decided to go with the University of UQAM in Montreal, while Bryan wanted to stay in English and chose Concordia University, which is also in Montreal. And during our first semester, Bryan really started to feel down. He still had feelings for me, and I encouraged him to meet new guys and try to give them a chance, which he eventually did. After several failed dates, he started talking and seeing a guy who also seemed interested. Then he started talking to me about him, and I felt kind of weird. I didn't really understand, because I was the one who always told him like, you should find someone, be more happy, try to stop thinking about me, blah blah blah. And then when he finally found someone, I was the one feeling weird about it. Then came December, and both of them had decided to see each other as a date, like right after Christmas Day. As usual, since the year I met Bryan, Bryan would be at my home for Christmas Eve, because my family would have him over, and because we were really close and my family really liked him, so we invited him each year for Christmas. Then came December 24th, 2012. Bryan had just arrived at my place. You see, Bryan is kind of the guy who's the late Christmas shopper. He had just bought my gift that day, just before arriving at my place, and he had locked himself in a room to wrap it. While he was there to wrap my gift, and I was left alone in my room, I noticed that he had left his phone on my bed, and that he had just received a text message. So I guess you can see where this is going now. I know it's wrong to do so, but I looked at his conversation with a guy, and I felt absolutely horrible, because they really seemed into each other, and they were talking about the date they were supposed to have really soon. And I was feeling so like, I don't know how, it was such a rush of emotions, and there were tears gathering up in my eyes and everything. I started shaking, my stomach was in knots, and then Bryan came back in my room because he had finished wrapping up the gift, and then he saw me and noticed that I was feeling like really weird, and he asked me what was wrong, and then I simply told him how much I cared for him, and that I had feelings for him that I didn't even realize that I had before, and that I wanted to be with him. And then we kissed. And that's it. That is the story of how we became a couple. So on 24th of December, we started officially going out together as a couple, and we stayed a couple ever since. And now I've accepted who I am, my feelings and everything. I came to peace with it. I still have like anger issues from my past, but it's way better now, and I just feel happy now. So that's it for the story of how me and Bryan became a couple. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like to the video if you want to see more of these types of videos. And I guess with that, we're gonna see each other next week. Bye guys, love you so much.